More life.
Okay. Okay. So, you know, I've never really done this before. I never really talked to the audience when you're performing with Blondie. And so this is a little odd for me. And I thought somehow I was threatened because it's music. All this sort of, drill, just barely playing. There's a little music right now. That's it for music. To be exposed, is really threatening to me. So any attempt to, hide myself is really not mystery by intent, but it's an instinctive fight to protect my personality and to maintain that somehow. I don't know why this happened or how I became like this, but that's what it is. Most of our lives are driven by threats, and really, what is a threat? I mean, it could be anything to anybody, It's just either it's like the chicken or the egg, you never really know. And then, of course, there's the real threat of losing your sanity and, one's emotional life. Let's see. So that's how I feel about being here tonight, to some degree. So I'm going to start with some bits from my book, Making Tracks, that Chris and I wrote with Victor Bacchus. It was originally supposed to be a cocktail table book of pictures, just a picture book. And then, but somehow or other we developed this little narrative. And then I'm going to try some poems. I guess it's sort of going to be in some kind of chronological order, but sort of. Okay. All right, here we go. It's supposed to be a poetry reading, so, by God, here comes a little poem. This is actually in the book, so I feel that it's a legitimate something. So this was a poem that where I wrote about one of Eric Emerson's girlfriends, Jane Forth. And it's sort of just sweet. It was, here it is. Okay. I've seen you in the morning, walking your boy to school. I'm sitting in my Chevy, wondering what to do. We know we've seen each other, yet we never speak. Your boy goes in the door with your kiss on his cheek. Early morning memories are not what I awake, but old, decrepit ideals, which I can't seem to shake. All right. Now, here's something from the book here. When Chris and I left the Stilettos, we were moving on. We just kept playing with different musicians. Everyone was still so bored at the time that we never thought about making it. Who cares? We just kept on playing, And we played with different musicians. Ivan Kraut, who was later in the Patti Smith band, he played with us for about 3 months. And our drummer, Billy, who really couldn't decide whether he wanted to be a drummer or a pharmacist. Anyway, these are things, After Eric Emerson moved out of Chris's apartment, the place had been cooled out for about 20 minutes, and we ran into Tommy Erdely, who we knew from the Mercer Art Center when his name was Scotty, and he was in a band called Torch at the time. Tommy was now working in Performance Studios right around the corner from Max's on East 20th. And he invited us to rehearse there. He said he thought I had a great voice for rock and roll, and also that he had a band in Queens called the Ramones. They taped some stuff at Performance with Tommy Engineering, but they didn't know where to play in the city. And at that point, we were the second band after Television to ever play at CBGB's. And so thanks to the Television's bass player, Richard Hell, who was going out with Elda at the time, we ended up playing there. And we invited Tommy and the Ramones to play with us at CBGB's, and from then on we did play there a lot together. The Ramones were always very well organized, and I was always sort of amazed at how yes, they were really very professional in my mind, and very sort of military. Okay. This is a little thing here. Okay. We're skipping now. This is like, that's early 70s or late mid 70s, and this is going up to 1980. This is called the military rap. I might have to stand for this. Pick 'em up and put 'em down. You're in the army now. We'll make a man of you, and then a soldier too. Shoulders back and stomach in. We'll teach you discipline. Mother's son and father's daughter. Shut it up and follow orders. Study up on weaponry, the N5 and the N15. Sammy knows the enemy. Plan, big slam. Tell the major what you see. Ayatollah rock the house. Boogaloo with Minnie Mouse. Donald Duck is going red. Goofy's working for the feds. Drink, egg, and Haggis on TV. Advertising World War III. Go on now, pay later. It's a layaway plan. Free vacation in Iran. Stop and see the Middle East. Mazel, lovely beach. Get that copper tone tan on radioactive stand. Those at home just got a directive. All report to the neighborhood collective. 10 hours a day making makeup so the girls at the front can be more protected. Okay. 8 ball in the side pocket. Not over yet. 8 ball in the side pocket. I just shot my last rocket. I'm coming back there on my tail. I'm sure glad I'm out of jail. Bangkok rocks. Bangkok rocks. The girls on the strip. It's a one-way trip. Bangkok rocks. Pat pong, pat pong, pat pong. Bangkok rocks. Soldiers die for free. Natives up the tree. Tourists dine at 3. If I die on the Russian front, bury me to the Russian run. They dropped us in the Middle East. Stand up, hook up, off your seat. Shuffle over to the door. Wait right there and count to 4. If my sheep don't open wide, there's a spare one by my side. Okay, so let's see, where was I? And I ended up here. Chris had sublet his apartment then to the Ramones, and so they had moved in, and he was very quiet. Tommy was very quiet, but then some more of the Ramones moved in, and then sort of everything sort of disintegrated very quickly, and there were reports of screaming and holes punched in the wall and windows being broken, and that some chick locked a guy out in the hall and he pissed. So it was sort of like having Eric back. Okay, then I'm going to skip up to a little bit later here about getting signed. Am I still on the mic? Who knows? Okay. We started getting a little bit of notoriety. We did a show at Max's opening for the Heartbreakers, and I walked on stage in that zebra dress, and that was sort of a big photographic event, and got us a lot of coverage. But then one of the things that really stands out in my mind about that year was that we played New Year's Eve in Central Park for the Parks Department. And it was 1976 going into 77, and it was a really nasty New Year's Eve. It was about 18 below zero, and it was sleeting and raining and snowing, and there was 6 inches of icy slush on the ground, and we were playing in the middle of the Bethesda Fountain outdoors, and it was wild. And there were 4 Klieg lights on the top of the grand staircase, and all the snow was, pouring down, and all the trees were covered with ice. So it was just this grand, sort of crystallized thing. It was so beautiful. And so there actually were about 2,000 people there, and we earned $1,500, and this was the most money we had ever made. It was really, the Parks Department had 4 or 5 men dressed up as 8-foot-high white hands And at the stroke of midnight, the hands walked down the stairs with the big lights, and it was so great. It was the hands of time. So then, yeah, it was really pretty. Then we broke into Time Is Tight by Booker T, and the ball fell on Times Square. And at midnight, Joe Siegel put us on TV playing in the background, of course. I wore a silver mini dress over thermal underwear, and it was very hard for the guys to play because their fingers were completely frozen. But I'll never forget how beautiful it was. It was just such a visual. I'll never forget that. Let's see. We then put out our record, and we started getting really good reactions wherever we played, and this was, kind of really thrilling for us. We were sort of definitely on our way, and then we got a call from Rodney Bingenheimer in LA, who's a DJ at K-Rock, and he called up and he wanted to interview us for his radio show, and we thought this was really a big deal. And he was playing our record out there, and he'd seen Chris's Cream Green photo of me in Cream magazine, and he was saying, "Oh God, how old are you?" Hoping that I was a teenage girl. Chicken chaser there. So then we went to LA, and that was also a big deal. We played at the Whiskey for a week, and it blew everybody, including ourselves, away. And then we got another week with the Ramones, and that was also very, very exciting. Phil Spector came to see us, and he was wearing an In the Flesh button, and subsequently invited us to his house to discuss the possibilities of producing our next record. He trapped us in one room for a while, and he didn't want us. He didn't want us to move around too much. If we stood up, he wanted to know where we were going, or where we thought we were going. I was really attracted to him. He was so nice. I sang some songs, and Chris played some guitar, and Phil was interestingly like a magic Christian. Mike Chapman also came a couple of nights in a row, and he enjoyed the show. He thought that we were hysterical. Malcolm McLaren was also hanging around the Whiskey, but the Ramones didn't like him. And then Malcolm made some remark, Johnny said, "Are you talking to me?" Jumped up and chased him out of the dressing room, swinging his blue guitar, and said, we had a great time. We were having late night parties. It was very traditional, rock and roll behavior, and yeah. One night, Jimmy Clem got into a fight with another guest who was very, very pissed off that he couldn't get any sleep, and he came running out of his room swinging, and a big fight happens, and he was sort of dragging Jimmy around the hall by his hair, and then he started jumping on him, and finally the police came and made it official. So then the hotel management decided that we had to move. And they had another section of the hotel that was sort of like the old section of the hotel that hadn't been renovated. And they moved us up to the top of this hill. There were these great rooms these really old style rooms with huge pink kitchens, and I just was sort of in heaven there. I thought it was great. That was a sort of crazy deal. Somehow my manager had hooked us up with this hotel that was going to put us up for free for the rest of our lives if we did a gig for them. And they had control of a landmark disco in LA, and they hadn't wanted to pay the previous tenants' electric bill, so they put up some generators to run the disco. And somehow the generators were not generating a compatible amount of electricity or style of electricity, and they turned it on, and all the light bulbs shot out of their sockets and exploded. And so there was a couple thousand crazy punk kids all in the dark, and so that was also kind of exciting. And then they said after that, since they couldn't do the shows there anymore, they were going to set up a gig for us on Catalina Island, and they planned. This is really good. They were real professional. Really good promoters here. They planned to ship 2,000 doped up teenagers to this bucolic little island, and they couldn't get permission, so that was that. Yes, we're walking down memory lane here. So then we actually, went out on the road with Iggy and Bowie, and we played all the cities. And then we got to Seattle, and there was a very big Iggy cult there, and some of the guys came up and asked us how they could meet David and Iggy, and they were having a party and they wanted Iggy to come, and and so they were really trying to get us to invite him, and Clem and Jimmy and Gary told Iggy, but Iggy said no, he wasn't going to go. And then they went anyway. They went to this place, and all the walls had Iggy graffiti on them, and Iggy is gone, and, on and on. They were there for about an hour when all of a sudden the door opened, and Chris walked in with Iggy, who sat down and started holding court, surrounded by fans. And it was just, they had a small stage that was made up of boards on a mattress. And it was kind of interesting. They played on this sort of bouncing stage. And none of them could really play. And then Iggy jumped up on stage and sang with them for about 45 minutes. And he wouldn't do any of his current material. He would only do like Backdoor Man and Give Me Shelter and MC5 songs, but it was a very, very, very inspirational night for everybody. It was just very intimate and fun. Okay. Then now we're moving on to later in 1977. We were the night before we left New York. We were going to England. I had a little Camaro and it got stuck in reverse. Yeah, got stuck in reverse on 6th Avenue at 34th Street. So what I did was I backed up. As the lights changed, I would back up block by block. Yeah, like I was pretending I was looking for a parking space. And I got all the way downtown like that, and I really got it out. So it's quite a long trip. So I backed the car into a garage, and I told the guy that somebody was going to come and pick it up, and I gave the car to Vinny, who was a friend of Clem's from Newark or Bayonne, and he said he could afford to get it fixed. So, but he was the one who originally got it stuck in reverse anyway, so I felt it was sort of the right thing. And when we stepped off the plane in London the next morning, on Tuesday, May 17th, 1977, we were really psyched. The first couple of days in London, we stayed up, wandering around with our mouths hanging open, looking at the architecture, thinking about Shakespeare. Excuse me. Okay, let's see. Well, thinking about Shakespeare, the Romantic poets in Carnaby Street. It was every American pop band's dream to tour England, and we were in heaven. We saw Wayne County perform at Dingwall's, and he was running around screaming in all those different outfits. Later on that night, I imagined that Coleridge visited me in our garret room at the cheap hotel in Kensington. And I actually wrote a poem. Okay, so this was for Coleridge. Okay. Lips painted part, passing breath into your name. That's as far as I got. Our initial reaction to England was based on, our initial attraction to England was based on how now a largely non-existent swinging London of the 60s. By the time we got there, England was on the brink. Prices were high, taxes were higher, and even bored businessmen bitched about the cost of heating Buckingham Palace. The Jubilee to celebrate 25 years of rule by Elizabeth II was a bargain basement bicentennial. most people were either on strike or on the dole, and the Rolls-Royce fantasies of the 60s were gone forever. There was a pervasive atmosphere of restless, haunting discontent. By the time we got to London on Saturday, television must have been feeling the chill because the press were calling them the Ice Kings of Rock. Okay, one more thing from the book here. Right. This is back in New York, after we sort of toured for a while. And one night we were driving home, and we passed by CBGB's and stopped for a minute, remembering a hot summer night years ago when everybody was standing around with the winos out front. Legs McNeil and John Holmstrom were sharing the beer. Roberta was at the door hassling adroitly with hulking macho drunks. Arturo was prowling around in one of his wrestling masks. The guys from television were standing against the wall looking neurotic. Richard Lloyd was sleeping in the shadows. Anya was packed into a cocktail dress carrying a cigarette holder. Terry York was scurrying around making deals. And off in the deepest shadows were row upon row of burned-out vestiges of glitter queen rock stars with high platform heel boots, makeup, and really tight pants. Some fucked up scabby winos were trying to grub cigarettes, matches, quarters, dimes, anything. Everyone was kind of relaxed. So now I'm going to do a couple of, this is a lyric actually, from a song Chris and I wrote called The End of the Run. It sort of goes back to what I just read, and it's kind of sweet. Darkness falls like a black leather jacket and melts into the sidewalk as if it were a sleeping drunk. In the streets, the wind throws yesterday's headlines around. Another night comes and goes. So for a while back then, there was some place to go, somewhere more home than a house, a family of choice, not an accident. But sometimes, as soon as something gets started, it's over. Now the days are much shorter, and the people from the good part of town all come around. But something is missing, even though there's more there now. I shrug off my attempts to explain how a torn t-shirt made it all danger again. I don't like flashbacks in movies. I like the story to proceed, and I don't like talking about the old days, except if it tells where the future will lead. So we take a walk down this haunted hall, or stumble through a shattered recall. I know there's nothing to relive, it's just the shape of it all. I don't want it different. I don't want it again, but value for value. I'd never want it to end. You think of the old friends, and faces no more to be seen. You think how much fun a lineup would mean. And once the tape starts playing, it's too hard to make it rewind. That one special face takes over your mind. We stood in the cold light, though we should be warm, in the back of the lot with me in your arms. The sun was falling, the gray rain was pouring, the cars were all dirty and slow. We both had our kiss, and out of the depths and darkness, with my eyes closed, I still see you fine. As that was the season, we made our dreams come true. There was no limit to what we could do. The end of the run, we almost won. The end of the run, we had our fun. The end of the run, I knew it then. It wouldn't be back again. This is another, let's see, this is, now we're moving up to 1981. And so this is sort of a lyric and a story combined. It's sort of fun. I think I'll stand. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen of Earth and all native intelligences of 40 planets, satellites, moon stars, and any other inhabited orbs, with contestants entered in the annual Grand Treks, the only intergalactic race. This year's events promises excitement to pass all previous races. As many of you fans already know, the route or track of the orbits glides has been increased by 5,000 million kilometers, thus enabling Grand Treks to include the BR-15 system in our present event and for all succeeding GT races. Grand Treks fans throughout the universes are well informed on the risks pilots take in entering this race. Re-entry into some of the alien atmospheres is tricky business, which can cause a craft to implode, explode, melt, and lose atomic structure while en route. The crafts, scheduled to surface launch at 0700-5100 Greenwich Mean Time, are assembled on one of our very own stars, neutron Einstar EB9. The excitement is at a fever pitch as the countdown approaches zero. These hypersonic inertial transition ships can calculate the negligible quantity of spherical differential for tight orbit. Our sonar radar balance and translate windage occurrence, offset verniers, retrieve, execute, prepare, delay code, and report astrogational error in a microsecond. Naturally, these specialized craft are equipped with apparatus capable of highly sensitive maneuverability. They can dive, sweep, run random parallel paths, alternate axis, circumnavigate for rapid survey, spin, count millibraically, while simultaneously displaying an accurate diagram grid for safety measures, not to mention quanta limitation fixtures for sea level, ground level, level off, and hover bearings. We have retained as an added feature to stimulate more thrills the computer override for a 3.5 hour or 2 gens, during which pilots and co-pilots manually control free fall, latitude, longitude, protract gravity, revise dimensional equations, run program checks, submerge in the wild oceans of Gershwin 22 to photograph as much territory as they can, in addition to the requisite 3,000 automatic shots. The postulate for Miss Chance runs high, but not as high as the tension and competitive spirit right here on Earth and all over the 4 galaxies represented in this 7th Grand Treks. The countdown is -200, and I'm turning you over to the control room at Command Central. Seal on for the launch. Good luck to all the racers, and especially to our ship, Dragonfly. Onward to victory. Remember, ComDirect and radio silence will temporarily be in effect. Prerequisites not mentioned earlier by the MC are following. Beacons, lasers, quasars, guns mounted on deck, rapid survey reactor, fail-safe. Extra points awarded for city sound if delivered at the finish line, preferably retaining molecular identity. Gun sights pre-programmed to shift sequential tables, slant attitude, and blast on point terrain for the duration via gyro compass scan. The lock shall be maintained as per galactic directive for all flights. 1 gun sight depression shot at 1 designated target with 1 pass to carry out objective, execute, retrieve code, flip axis at will. Computer override duration 3.5 hours or 2 gens for pilot, co-pilot manual control. Exposed photographic material without readable subject matter will not be included in final point total. Dragonfly, dragonfly, satellite, striking flight, laser light, shot tonight, target nullified, gyro subdivide, latitude, longitude, satellite, solid substitute, dragonfly, opera vice, rapid scan, radios for the chance to win the grand, maneuvers pre-programmed, windage would operate, negative bearing swell. Dragons fly, they symbolize the myth in mind, breathing fire. Look up, there's one flying higher, faster than the SSC, science hiding witchery. Dragonfly, rations fly, and freefall slide, systems nullify. Satellite, dragonfly,
Surface launch, radio, silence. The time-space tactics saved us then. Display report, present, urgent, sequence counting, surface launch, dragonfly destroying all, science claiming newest findings, chanting, calling, flying dragons, aboard all systems, optimum, novans, no schedule, war continued, half the continental shelf burned by interval, dragonfly, dragonfly, beacon same, space game, satellite, computerized, mighty flight, hypersonic glide, win the race, calibrate, re-entry place, compute, fail-safe.